Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of the Geek Coast channel. I'm your host, the Wizard and Demigod David, and I hope you're all doing fantastic wherever you are in this universe. And before we start this show, I would like to say thank you to everybody who has been giving me great feedback, a little bit constructive criticism. Still, it's just hearing you guys, throwing this much love to me on something that's, a bit difficult for me to do because, I do have anxiety of doing stuff like this and I do question myself sometimes, but seeing your love and support and also, a little bit, hey, you can do this a little bit better or that a bit better or like I said, you guys are just truly amazing. You guys are a gigantic blessing from the gods. Truly, you guys are. I love each and every one of you, and I hope you guys keep being who you are because there's not that many people in this universe that are you. And you guys just keep doing it. Keep doing an amazing job. I love you guys, each and every one of you. Your comments, your text messages, your everything that, support here and there, and then also try to strike up a conversation here and there about my past topic is really awesome. I truly am blessed and happy that you guys are awesome, and just keep it up. And like I said, if you want to keep doing these things, leave a comment on the video. And, let's, keep it going. Like, I would love to see, different people's comments on, some of the topics. And it would be awesome. But, anywho, let's, not keep talking about this. Let's start the show. So, yes. So, episode 2 is going to be about the Netflix He-Man Master of the Universe Revelation. And this is going to be a spoiler warning right now. So, if you've not seen part 1 or part 2... this is your warning. Your final warning. Really. Stop right here. They're both out. Watch it. You can finish it within a day if you really, really, really want to. But seriously, watch it. It's awesome. If you don't know anything about He-Man, just watch it. It's a good show. I liked it a lot. And also, it's a Kevin Smith property. Anything with Kevin Smith is a good thing to watch. But seriously, final warning as of right now. This is it! So, anywho, yes. So, this is going to be a spoiler on part 1 and part 2 of He-Man Master of the Universe Revelation on Netflix. So, oh my gosh, this show was good. I liked it. And the thing about it, which... again, this is a continuation of the He-Man universe from the 80s. So it's the age group, the age gap, it's definitely going to be there because I did watch He-Man, but it's something I never really grew up with because He-Man was definitely not like I've seen He-Man. I know of the universe. I know much about the lore here and there, but I'm not a big He-Man fan base guy. And I think definitely at the end of part 1 is where, the hardcore He-Man fan base kind of went after Kevin Smith a lot. Because here's the thing. It's a part 1 out of a 2-part, series that he wants to do. Basically how you want to say it, a larger story that he wants to do. And also, for him, that Kevin Smith grew up with He-Man. So, this is something he wanted to do as, let's do a little closure. Also, / at the same time, put something interesting in, a little bit twist in here. And the thing, though, after I watched part 1, and looking at, some of the critics, which the critics were not too bad, but the audience, though... you guys were just too harsh. Come on, people of the internet. Come on. It's part 1 of a 2-part series. And if you're going to bash a show because how can you do this without certain characters, and then also be like, oh my god, now you're focusing on female based characters who were not even that important. And I'm like, come on guys, like this is a well thought out show, especially with like basically three of the side characters. I want to say is probably my favorite parts, and also the changing of the lore of He-Man, which we will talk about more about that in the part two discussion, which will be later on in this video. But yeah, anywho, in part one, which is the first episode, is definitely a traditional He-Man episode. If you've seen He-Man back in the 80s as a kid or growing up, you're gonna love it, like it. But it's a episode where this is it. This is like how the series would end, in which, both He-Man and Skeletor fight, and at the end, they both died. And you see, like, the aftermath of that, which, especially with the character Teela, which, like I said, I've seen He-Man. I'm not that much into the lore, and I maybe need just to read more into it, possibly. But, like, Teela, definitely, you can see where... Which I guess in the show, like, Teela never knew that Prince Adam was He-Man. Which, like, seriously, like, come on. If you watch the original animation, Prince Adam and He-Man literally look the same. It's as bad as, like, Clark Kent putting glasses on to make sure that no one recognizes him as Superman. Like, it's that bad. It's horrendously bad. It's kind of funny. Honestly, I guarantee there's a lot of memes here and there that you can find about that. But anywho, it's like, it does continue on. And then as part one not digress, but keep going, is where after their final battle, the magic is dying. And you can see, like, kind of like the land and also certain characters who are actually magical base feeling that they're dying as a people, like Oracle, which Oracle in the original animation, he's just, kind of like a jester. Someone that, he tries to do good, but, it's always funny. And you see Oracle literally dying, and you're like, oh my god, this is really sad, because he's such a fun-loving character, and now, because there's no magic coming back, or magic is dying, he's actually dying. It's kind of sad. Another character too, which is again a Skeletor sidekick or companion, Evil Lynn. Evil Lynn is in a conflict because she's a magical based sorcerer, like, and without magic, than who she truly is. And which I think this is where the show strives really great, is definitely with Evil Lynn and definitely with Teela, is you see these two side characters trying to find who they are with either without magic or magic is limited to themselves, especially with Teela. Because Teela felt like, hey, forget magic. I'm going to find who I am. And that's actually a cool story. Like, I like stories where you see these characters, and then once something is gone, it's gone, and they don't have it anymore, and they just try to find how to revision themselves, in a sense. And that's also especially with Evil Lynn, too, because she was always, on Skeletor's side all this time, and now without Skeletor, who she is as a person. And part two does show a little bit more, which I'll talk about more later on. But yeah, as part one keeps on going, they're trying to bring back magic back, which in a sense, they're trying to bring back He-Man. And they basically go through the, their version of the underworld, surviving that. And Oracle does the greatest thing where he sacrificed himself. And what's crazy, because the underworld of Eternia is like your greatest fears, and you see Oracle's greatest fears, and actually with the help of Evil Lynn, Oracle actually overcomes his fears, and he becomes what he needs to be. Like, and at the end of that, in part one, he sacrificed himself, and that is I will not. I honestly will tell you this. I almost really cried because Oracle is such a great character. He's such a cool character, and for him to be like this jester, comedic thing, and finally have his moment where he actually is like, you know what? No, I will actually do what I have to do, even if it's going to cost me my own life. And Oracle dive was pretty sad. As we, like I said, continue with part one, it kept on going where they finally reforge because they have to reforge the power sword, which the sword was split. Which, I'm sorry I didn't explain that earlier, but yeah, the power sword split. Reforge the power sword, and eventually somehow get Prince Adam to come back and, do his thing. And yeah, they had to go to basically, in a sense, the heaven of Eternia, or in the Master of the Universe lore, where you see Prince Adam with other people who have been He-Man before. And it's crazy because, like, in that part of which I guess is heaven is where they all kept their power form except for Prince Adam. Prince Adam is still in his, Prince Adam form. And I like this one too because the thing I like about it is because they show Prince Adam as like a skinny, scrawny person. Like, he was never that muscular. Because in the original animation, if you watch the original animation, like, you can see, like, oh, well, this is He-Man because the body type is the same. Kevin Smith's version, they made sure that, hey, by the way, Prince Adam is a skinny, scrawny person. He's not that strong. He's not that powerful. But when he does turn into He-Man, you can see he's He-Man. And they definitely show that more when they eventually visit the, I guess in a sense, the heaven part of Eternia. So it was really cool to see that. I actually liked that a lot. And finally, when the power sword was rejoined, and you see Telo's like, "Hey, Adam, we need you. We need you to come back." And Prince Adam was definitely like, I did my thing. I'm here, but at the same time, he knows he has to come back. So, which I kind of like that because I think, like I said, the original animation, I'm not 100% like more into the lore because I've seen it. I'm just not that fluent into it. But watching this one is like, you can see that he definitely wants to stay in this heaven, but at the same time, he is still compelled of duty, and that's actually really cool, and it does explain a lot more about part two. So, anywho, yeah, so they get back to Eternia, blah, blah, blah. He-Man, or not He-Man, Prince Adam's about to do his whole thing, and then out of nowhere, Skeletor arrives and stabs Prince Adam before he does his whole, I have the power! And yeah, at the end of part one, Skeletor takes the sword and he becomes basically a He-Man Skeletor at the end of part one, which is like, holy crap. So Skeletor actually wins? It's crazy. And I think that kind of like threw a lot of people off on the internet. It's like, wait, Skeletor can't win? This is blah, blah, blah. Angry right, da, 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 da. But still, at the same time, it's a part one out of a two-part series. So, here's part two. So, part two is actually pretty interesting. I actually like part two more than part one because it explains more of the magical and the lore of the Castle Grayskull and also the power, which is actually kind of ridiculous and crazy because you see multiple people get hold of the sword and have the power. And it's like Prince Adam, Skeletor, and then eventually Evil Lyn, who becomes Dark Lyn. And it's ridiculous and crazy. It's like, holy crap, there's actually a lot of things that Kevin Smith added into this lore, which I like it. The thing about me is I like lore stuff. I like, oh, this is interesting. I want to read more about it. And I kind of want to read more about, like, the lore within He-Man, especially the original animation, possibly. But I think Kevin Smith adds some stuff to where it brings that nostalgia back, and you can actually rewatch the original animation, but also at the same time have appreciation of it too. And then also kind of like, add a few twists here and there. So, anywho, so basically what happens in part two is Prince Adam can still call upon the power without the sword, but he becomes like this like Hulk character, like ultimate rage, anger, and in the end, it had to take his father, who actually never really considered him a good son because he wasn't He-Man, but he finally realized that, and after he learned the truth about Prince Adam being He-Man, he actually does the one thing even in his, like, how in, was it Age of Ultron, I think it was, where Black Widow does the thing where to call the Hulk down. What the King of Eternia did is not calm him down, but basically just like, hey, I'm sorry, and also I want to give you the love and support, and that's really awesome. It's a good, touching moment, really is. And also you learn more about Tila, which Tila technically is the daughter of the sorceress of Grayskull with Man of Arms. And like I said, I don't know much about the lore, but you know what? I was like, that's a cool little twist, cool little ad, and to give Tila like basically like her end of her journey, where she begins in part one, fighting alongside He-Man, loving He-Man, and then eventually finding out the truth, which betrayed her trust, to resent and hate magic, and now have to now come full swing where she actually has the magic to save Eternia and honestly the entire universe, which also talk about Evil Lyn, who also becomes Dark Lyn because she somehow gets the sword or the sword of power away from Skeletor, and she has the power, and she went, crazy because it's interesting with the lore is that like the magic is connected with the rest of the universe, and it's kind of cool. But Evil Lyn, because of her upbringing, which you learn a bit more in one of the episodes, I think it was like the third or fourth episode, maybe. I can't remember exactly. But she basically goes crazy because, like, nothing matters. Everything doesn't matter. We're all, small rubble, small rocks in a larger sandpit or larger playground. And she wants to destroy it and kill everything. And she kind of does in certain sense, but it took Tila, which I love Tila's story arc also at the same time. I think Tila and Evil Lyn definitely have probably one of the best story arcs in the entire show, because to them they're trying to find who they are and where they are in the world or the universe in a sense, and Tila finally accepts that I am the daughter of the sorceress of Grayskull, and there's something I want to do. But at the end, she actually changed the rules of it, because in order to be a sorceress of Grayskull, you're stuck in the castle unless you turn into a bird or something like that. But also, you have to let go of those attachments. And Tila decided, like, you know what? I'm going to change the rules. I want to keep my attachments, but still be the sorceress. And she changed it in a way that even her own mother was like, oh, okay, do it. Keep me in your memory and all that stuff. Like, it shows that family means a lot, and that's a really cool thing. It really is. And honestly, family does mean a lot. Doesn't matter if it's blood or friendships and all that stuff. That means a lot. And her fight with Evil Lyn, or Dark Lyn at this moment, was a really cool fight because it wasn't a fight to the death. It was a fight of philosophy in a sense where it's like you see the universe dying. Well, dying because you want to see the universe destroyed because you are so small, but at the same time, the universe is gigantic, but it can still bring life. It can still bring happiness. It can still bring joy. And I think that's what she was trying to show Evil Lyn or Dark Lyn at that time, and it was really cool. I actually liked that fight a lot, and yeah, it was no, that was a cool fight. He-Man, Skeletor, of course, they eventually fought together. It was really cool seeing Prince Adam and Skeletor fight together. That was actually a really cool thing. Both of them multiple times saving each other against Dark Lyn when she was like power up and crazy, but eventually it went back to, Skeletor versus He-Man, the final battle. And at the end, you kind of like got that traditional, He-Man where He-Man always wins. But here's the thing about this show and how it ends is interesting because in the first part, you see basically like this cultist with two of Skeletor's henchmen. Can't remember their name, but they're basically, in a sense, not like basically turn people into the Borg, not necessarily the Borg, but adding cybernetics into their bodies and changing their bodies in a way. And they're worshipping basically what is called Motherboard. And I don't think that's from the original anime or animation, sorry. But I think it's definitely Kevin Smith added because at the end of part 2, Skeletor, so Motherboard takes over Skeletor's original place, and Skeletor goes back and tries to retake it, but Motherboard resists, and you find out Motherboard is actually some kind of sentient being, and it's weird because at the end Skeletor becomes cybernetic, and I don't know what's going to happen. I hope Netflix doesn't do what they did with Cowboy Bebop and ended in one season or 2 parts, which I am still kind of sad about Cowboy Bebop, but Spikes always says, whatever happens, happens. But yeah, I don't know, it's interesting. I don't know if they'll do another show or maybe it'll be a part 3. I don't know how they're going to spin this. But also, I do trust Powerhouse Animation. Those guys are awesome. And the reason I'm telling you those guys are awesome, these shows I'm going to recommend that they have done, Blood of Zeus and Castlevania. And that is it. Watch both of those shows. They are truly great shows. Truly great shows. And the animation's great. The fighting animation's great. And also in He-Man, it's just really awesome. But anywho, that's all I got on my feelings on He-Man, Master of the Universe Revelations, and I hope you guys enjoy it. It is a bit longer than the first episode because I'm talking about part 1 and part 2. But seriously, if you have not seen them, watch them. They're great. And also, the other shows I recommend from Powerhouse Animation, do watch those too. They're also equally amazing. And anywho, hope you all stay geeky and stay nerdy. Love you guys.